Welcome to Some Say I'm Gifted, where we teach you the magic of walking in your spiritual gifts and how it can help you navigate this crazy life, and helping you understand that even though we're in this world, we are not of it. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let's get real.
You know that 28 cheeses equals 130 calories?
I did not know that fun fact.
I know, I'm full of fun facts, and this is me, Tess. Tess. I'm Tess. Let's try it that way. And this is the lovely episode of Some Say I'm Gifted. Can I say the name of it?
Yeah.
Murder by the Slice.
Ooh,
Scary. I'm here with two scary, spooky girls.
Hey.
Ghouls.
Hello, everyone.
That would be Morgan and Danielle, and in that order, I believe, yes. Okay, so today's episode is Murder by the Slice. But before we do that, like I said, we're trying to have our own traditions, okay? And this tradition is shouting out our local businesses, like local to us, which for me is pretty much Johnson City, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I am shouting out Haley at the Bush House, which is rooted in self-care. She's an esthetician. She does my waxes,
Oh,
you know,
look at
for the
that.
men folk. No, I'm just playing. Anyways, Haley's great. Love her very much. And the Bush House in Johnson City, it's great.
They take care of your shrubbery.
Yes, yes. Rooted in self-care.
I love that.
Trim all those bushes.
Yes, she's great. Wonderful. And she's a great business owner. Look her up, Instagram. I don't think she's on Facebook. She's on Instagram. But her marketing skills are pretty amazing.
She looks awesome. Like,
Yes.
she's doing great.
On
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, ladies.
Yes.
How's your day been going? Good. This is something my youngest son says to me several times. Like, how's your day going? How's your day been so far? How's your day
Aw.
going?
That's sweet.
That's very sweet.
He does it to make me chase a rabbit around a barn.
Oh, trying
Oh.
to get you to talk about things, or
Yeah. But he also he's really sweet. So
he is really sweet.
he's a sweet turd. Anyways, Murder by the Slice. What does that mean? Is this a true crime episode of Some Say I'm Gifted?
Dun, 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 dun.
Do we have that sound effect?
I just made it.
Oh, that's great. I need it. You know those the Jack Black saxophone
Oh
thing?
my God,
We need one of
yes.
those.
Gosh,
Maybe we should go to Walmart and look for. Okay. Here's the thing. This is a story near and dear to my heart because it's about my dad, whose name was Brady Lee Hughes. I'm laying it all out, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Brady Lee Hughes. Should we give a little background?
Let's do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so my dad was born in Newport News, Virginia, and raised in western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee. And he grew up with a single mom. Not really knowing who his father was till he was 21 years old. He thought his father was a man that pretty much raised him, named Stokes Hughes, which is who my oldest son's named after. But that was not his father. As cliche as it may sound, my dad's father was the mailman. And that's very important to this story. His name was Jug Church. I'm using real names, so God help us, okay?
Wow.
Which that's not Jug. Jug wasn't his real name. Well, that's what everybody called him, and I think that's what everybody knew him as. And honestly, I could call my brother, but I can't remember his real, government name. So Jug and my grandmother were quite an item, and then he went off to become a Marine. My grandmother was left here with my father, and she did what she had to do to survive. We'll leave it at that. My dad went on to have a brother that grew up in the same house with him named Alan Hughes, who was Stokes' son. My grandmother went on to marry other men after her and Stokes got divorced. But up until the day my grandmother died, Stokes and her were like super close. Like they would hang out and stuff. It was very confusing for me because my parents got divorced when I was 5, which I think is another important factor. But it was really confusing for me because they were like such good friends, and I was like, my parents aren't good friends. I was like, I thought they were trying to get into heaven, you know, like they're old and trying to get into heaven, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
So that's all I thought. Okay, so my dad was a ladies' man.
Very
And-
suave.
My boys have it. You can see it. My brother has it when he wants to. But he was what we like to call a man whore. Okay? He got around. And he grew up predominantly, especially as a teenager, in Roe Mountain. Now, Roe Mountain, Tennessee, which is like a village, okay? It's top of the mountain. It's really small. You girls have been there. It's tiny, right?
Yeah.
But everybody that knew my dad and knew that he was my father would tell me really amazing stories. Like, he was extremely inventive. He invented this thing where you would take the caps of, like, cans and tie them together on a string and shoot lighter fluid down it and then light it on fire and shake it, and it was like, it would go da-da-da-da, boom. It would, like, make it explode. It was,
Whoa.
but he, like, came up with it. I know I'm not giving it justice, but, like, somebody that he used to hang out with, because like neighborhood kids would all hang out, right? And then he took, like choppers, you know what a chopper is? He took a bicycle and turned it into a chopper.
Oh my God.
He could hear a car and tell you what was wrong with, like, he was so, and nobody taught him. He just knew it was insane. His brain was so crazy. Like, he was amazing. So when he was 18 he was 21. He was 21, he went into the Marines, but I should go back a little bit further. Before that, he was all-state football at Cloudland. And he got a scholarship to go to Lees McRae, which I think was like, at that time was like a community college, but so he went to Lees McRae and he got an associate's degree in microbiology because he wanted to be a marine biologist. But then he decided to go into the Marines, which are two different kinds of Marines. And my grandmother, I'll tell you what she told everybody, okay? My grandmother told me that she had seen, do y'all know who Phil Donahue is? He was like a talk show host, right? She'd seen this story on Phil Donahue where a guy and a girl fell in love, had children, and found out after the fact that they were siblings.
Oh, no.
So she knew that my dad's half-sister, Denise, was in Paris Island, which is where on the East Coast Marines go to boot camp, staying with someone I always knew as Aunt Addie, which was her best friend, but also my real aunt, okay? Which would be Jug's sister, okay? So she knew that Denise was staying with Aunt Addie. She was terrified that my dad would go to Paris Island, meet Denise, and have there was like a natural, like brothers, siblings have a natural draw to each other.
Yeah.
So she was like, we're going to go, he's going to fall in love with her, and they're going to have children, and they're going to be inbred. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what my grandmother told him. So he's getting ready to leave for the Marines, and she said, your father's not your father's this person, which meant the guys that he grew up with, that he played football with, were his half-brothers. And I'll say, he has two. At this point, it doesn't matter if one's named Tony Church, one's named Frank Church, okay? And I think it's so bizarre to me because to this day, if I see them out in public, my dad had a full head of hair, okay, dark, like jet black hair. And Frank and Tony don't have hair. That's the only thing but to this day, like today I ran into one of them and it's still, because my dad's been dead since I was 25, or 26, and it will take the breath. My dad looked so much like them that my grandfather, my mom's father, Leo, was at the mall one day and walked by my dad with another woman and slapped the shit out of him and said, how dare you when your wife and children are at home? And he said, this is my wife. He said, Brady, don't start. He said, my name's Frank. That's how much they look
That's
alike,
crazy.
right? I mean, I don't see it now because ever since I've been alive, like I've known about Frank. I see it, but they're bald. My dad's not.
Yeah.
Or wasn't. Does that make sense?
Pretty big feature to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
missing.
Yeah, but I mean, back then I think Frank still had hair. I don't know. I didn't actually meet that side of the family till I was about 12. My mom was like, we're not hiding crap from our kids ever. So from a very early age I was told about it, but I didn't meet them till I was older. So anyways, my birth grandfather Jug married a woman named, I don't remember, Catherine Cat. I don't know. I just know that she wouldn't allow him to have anything to do with my father. And I could be wrong, but people have told me that she died a really not fun death. Which I don't think any death's fun, you know.
Right.
But as soon as she passed away, my father and his birth father reunited. To the point that Jug gave us Christmas presents every year. And we were introduced to them, and we were introduced to our Aunt Denise and our Uncle Tony and our Uncle Frank. And there was always this weird feeling from Frank, okay? Like, he tolerated my father, but he didn't like him. You know what I mean? Jug was a Marine, by the way. My dad was a Marine.
Was Frank?
No,
So was it a little jealousy?
I think so.
Okay.
My dad was a heck of a football player. I've heard Jug was a good football player. I don't know. But I know that my aunts, my great aunts, Jug's sisters, loved me and my brother and my dad a lot and always talked to us. And did not agree with the way Jug treated the whole situation. Now, I got to be honest with you. I don't know Jug's wife, or first wife. I didn't know her. But I knew that she was not nice. And she made it very hard for my dad. But at the same time, Jug could have been like, that's my kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, it's a very weird situation. Anyways, when she passed away and we became a part of their life, my grandfather married another person. I want to say her name was Kathy. I could be wrong. She was super nice. And they were together when my grandfather died. And my dad had been left a lot of things in the will. Property. He was included in, like, the other children. He was the oldest as well. And so when you go to a funeral, you have a progression, you know? And you line up oldest to youngest. And my dad was right beside his new wife. So I would say there was a little bit of anger and animosity. Also, Jug was like a savant, like my father, when it comes to mechanics. He owned a mechanics shop. That part of it had been left to my dad.
Oh, no.
So when everything was said and done, the only thing my Aunt Denise, who was at Quantico at the time, because she was part of the FBI, I think she still is, I don't know, I don't talk to any of them, she wanted his little truck, like it was like a little Ford Ranger, right? So my dad, my brother, and I took it to Quantico for her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we stayed the night. It was very awkward because I am not like them at all. My brother's a lot more like him. You know, he's cop-minded. He's a cop. They were cops. I'm not. So anyways, we were, you know, we took the truck up there. There was 2 houses and the garage. And Frank, who owns a pizza place in Roan Mountain, that's why I met her by the slice. Okay, just throwing that out there. Anyways, he bought the other 3 siblings out. Okay. And Jug also worked for the post office. I should say that. My dad worked for the post office, and Frank worked for the post office. Isn't that weird?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of headbutting going on there.
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
there?
my dad was like a head window clerk in Johnson City, which is a much bigger post office than Roan Mountain.
Oh.
You know? But I will say that when we lived in Roan Mountain and my mom, Frank, would bring our mail every once in a while, and he would, if it was a package, he would just throw it. He really didn't like us. To the point, like, I literally ran into him today at Walmart, and I looked at him and grinned, and he went, like, growled, like, snarled his lip.
Yeah.
His wife's a sweetheart. She was nice. You know, she was there. Anyways, so we, they divided it up, and my dad, for the first time in his life, I think felt seen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He had his siblings.
Truly acknowledged by his father.
Yeah. After, I mean, I don't even, Dad was probably in his he was probably in his 40s when all this happened, okay? Don't ask me how old my dad is now. He was born in 1957, so.
That's only 10 years older than my mom, so 78.
He would have been 78 this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So if he, yeah, that's about right. So, and I'm not trying to brag, but like, I can literally, my dad was such a player. And it's so sad because he and my mom both wanted acceptance so bad. And my brother and I talk about this all the time. They both had 2 children that idolized them and gave them all the acceptance they could have ever wanted, but they just didn't see it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they looked for acceptance in lovers and whatever, and hung on, when, me and Chaz literally, like, my brother worked his butt off for my dad. He would go up there and just mow the yard just to be, like, we just, we were there. We went, and then we got to a point when we realized, like, they can't accept us because they don't understand acceptance, But, so Dad had been married before my mom, married my mom, got divorced. We were the only children he had that he always said that we know of. He was a really interesting guy. He worked for the government. I don't know how much I should go into on that because I don't know how much he worked for the government. I just know that he said he worked for the government, right? And was still working for the government, but like then would go on trips with nobody but himself for long periods of time and come back. And he had a large gun collection, but he was a Marine, right? He was a sharpshooter. But here's the crazy thing. He taught us how to shoot, but he never took us hunting. Isn't that weird?
Fascinating.
He wasn't a hunter, but if we went out hunting, he wanted to take pictures of it. He was big into photography. He loved taking pictures. Recently, we were going through some stuff in Red Mountain, and we found a picture that he took of a Siberian tiger at the Knoxville Zoo that I gave to Chaz to put in his girl's room because the room's done in jungle stuff. I mean, but it's matted and like it's the tiger's. My dad always walks around with like a big Nikon camera, like he was like,
Fancy.
And drove BMWs too, which is always wore polo clothes.
Interesting.
The thick, big, like they're called body sheets now. The towels, polo. You know what I'm talking about, like the '90s polo towel. He had so many of them. I still use them at my house.
Really?
And like my comforter is, I try every time I go to a estate sales, yard sales, thrift stores. I look for that comforter. It's Ralph Lauren.
The leopard print
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
I can't find. And it was my dad's. Like he was so. He still had a waterbed that had a mirror glass.
Oh,
like
God.
a mirror.
No.
Okay.
No, my goodness.
He was a ladies' man. You know what I mean?
What a guy.
So, anyways, one thing I will say, when he died, we found so many love letters, and my dad wouldn't tell people he loved them. He would say 143 because I 1 4 love 3 you.
Yep.
He would tell me and my brother that. He would say, I love you. He never told him 143 to us, but all the women in his life he did.
Oh my gosh.
Because that was not really saying I love you.
Mm.
And the older I get, I think y'all have heard me say this many times, the older I get, the more I realize I'm very much like him. And if I have to run, I will run from situations. Because he would. Anyways, my dad, I was probably like 15 or 16, he started dating this woman named Jane. And I don't know how to explain her, and I don't want to have anybody's blood on my hands, but in the words of my deceased mother, it would be like putting it in a turkey carcass.
Ew.
Oh,
cat.
God. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah. More specifically, the one from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Gaping dry hole is all I'll say. Anyways.
Oh, my God.
My mom, the way that my father got when he was with her was very much like how his father treated him towards me and my brother. It was really bad. He was with her from the point I was 16 till I got married and had Stokes, and I had him when I was 25, so Dad died when I was 26. He and Jane had broke up. I feel like that's important to know. He was coming around. We were bonding our relationship back together. Our relationship had always been strained and a little bit different, mine and my dad's, but he was coming and seeing Stokes. He loved Stokes. He was getting ready to retire because he could take the time in the military and the post office and combine them so he could retire early, right? Because that's both government agencies. So he was going to retire. He was going to go to Northeast to get his mechanics certificate, even though he didn't need it. Like, he was like, I am telling you guys, my windshield wipers quit working on a car I was driving. It was like a Oldsmobile Illumina or whatever. And I called my dad, and he said, oh, shit. That was his, oh, shit, sis. And he showed up. He took his shoelaces out of his boots, out of his shoes, tied it to something, and said, follow me in my Beamer. And he put his arm out the window and worked the windshield wipers from his shoelaces tied together that connected to. I'm telling you, sometimes I'm just like, God, I wish Dad was here.
Wow.
Because there's like little things that'll come up in my house that are broken, and I know that my dad would be like, it's blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to mention, I know he would love my husband. Like, they would be best buds because football, and I could go on and on. Anyways, so he and Jane had separated. I was pregnant with his second grandson. He was pretty excited. He was excited about Stokes. He was like, oh, good Lord. Stokes looks like, sorry, but I can remember him saying, sorry, bud, you got my chin. And Stokes looks pretty much like him. It's kind of creepy. I've got pictures of them throughout, when my dad was that age, and they look pretty similar. Anyways, they do play the same position, football. So he would come and just hold Stokes, and it was sweet. I was getting my dad back, and a dad that I hadn't ever really had that deep connection with. It was December, and here we get snow in December, but usually it's not heavy snow. And it was in December. He was here. He was working. It was December 16th. It had a light snow that day. It was pretty cold. And he, for whatever reason, had decided to start working nights at the distribution mail center, right? And he was working days and nights, which was really weird because he was a head window clerk, and that doesn't usually happen. And we don't know why he was picking up so much extra time, because that's just ignorant, right? Because he had enough money. He got 100% disability from the VA and worked at the post office. So it didn't make sense to anybody that was the situation. So anyways, he had been at the house in Roan Mountain, which is now mine and Chaz's. He stood and stared at the mountains for a long time. And the little old lady that used to live across the street said to us, I would have given anything to walk out and talk to him that day, knowing now what was happening. He'd been at the water department. He'd paid the electric bill. And then he was going to work that night, but he decided to drive towards North Carolina, where my grandmother and now he and my mother are buried. Which is really bizarre because my dad had family in North Carolina, but not necessarily in that direction, which is, you all know where that, okay? Yeah. So if you're standing, the house I own around Mountain, he's standing and he's staring, looking towards Johnson City, okay? And he's standing there, whatever. He gets in his car, by this time he was driving a Honda CRV, that's a whole other story for another day, but whatever. So he gets in, he drives up the mountain. Now it's snowy. This is important. It's snowy. Goes up the mountain. He has to be in Johnson City at work within like an hour. So why would he be going further away from Johnson City, right? Yeah. Goes up, and then he's gone, and he shows up in the front yard of a park ranger, because Roan Mountain is a state park, right? He crashes into a tree of a park ranger's house because he knows they're home, and he knows that they have radios because you don't have cell service up there, okay? Mm-hmm. When they get to him, he is alive, but he's been shot, and he's talking, and they can get him out of the car. But then Now from this point forward, is what the police told us. Okay. There's 2 park rangers there assisting him and a state trooper, all of which I've talked to, but they have all now been moved to other states.
Ooh.
So that's important. Okay. 2 days after this, there were 2 people in Roan Mountain, which y'all know how big it is, found rolled up in rugs.
Whoa.
Shot. One of the park rangers, I should rephrase that. There was 2 park rangers and a shadow park ranger. The third shadow went out back of the house he was staying in and blew his own brains out. Okay? The state trooper talked to me over and over, but would not tell me my dad's last words. The car was covered in evidence, right? My dad had no shoes on. He had thick chemical rubber gloves that came up to his elbow. He had a Carhartt jacket on with no shirt.
What?
It had been snowing. Okay, remember. He had on a pair of jeans and a belt, which was kind of my dad's MO. That's what he wore if he wasn't at work, okay? He was alive and he was talking. He had been shot in his right hip, which could have been self-inflicted, but my dad had had shoulder replacement surgery and couldn't turn his arm that way, right? Okay. So these are all important things to know. So they get an ambulance there and they rush him down the mountain, basically. Don't call a helicopter. There's the helicopter that's across the street here. They could have picked him up.
Yeah.
Didn't do any of that. They rushed him down here and they stop at the first hospital, which is Sycamore Shoals in Elizabeth, and he dies there. Okay. He's supposedly somewhat coherent till they get there, which means the man's talking. They said they couldn't get him out of the car, so they cut the top off of the Honda CRV. And it's so weird that my dad was hauling quickcrete in the very back. So when he hit the tree, because he hit it so fast, mind you, he's bleeding out. So he hit the tree. There was not that much damage done to the CRV because of the wreck. The Carter County Sheriff's Department cut the top off, and with the rain snow mix and the quickcrete, it ruined all the evidence.
Oh.
Now, are we starting to see why this is a weird story? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So they get him down the mountain. He passes away. They call his next of kin. Okay. My brother's friend, Joey Brown, has family that's from North Carolina, Elk Park, Better Elk area. And his dad lives I don't know if he's living in Roan Mountain now, but at the time he was. And Joey, mind you, my brother knows Joey from going to school 45 minutes away from Roan Mountain. Okay, it's just a weird coincidence. We just happen to all have family from Roan Mountain, and I can't express to you, Roan Mountain is so tiny. It's a village, not a town. Mm-hmm. There's not even a red light, right? Mm-hmm. So Joey was visiting his dad's church, and they said, we need to lift up the Hughes family in prayer. And Joey said, what Hughes family? And they said, Brady Hughes died. He calls his best friend, who happens to be my brother. That's how we found out our dad was dead. Nobody called us. My dad has another brother, Alan. He was at the hospital, but we were not called. So we rushed. My brother calls my mom and says, go get Tess, meet me at Sycamore Shoals. Okay. My mom comes to the house. I was living with my ex-husband and says, your dad's been in an accident. We got to get to the hospital. I think he's dead. I freak out. I'm pregnant with Jasper. Okay. Mm-hmm. Get in the car, fly to Sycamore Shoals. When I get there, my dad's, at the time, he had just broke up with the girlfriend and her 2 kids. And they're demanding to go in and see him. And I'm throwing a fit. And I'm pregnant as a moose. Mm. And I'm swinging, stay away from my dad. This is not your dad. And I'm you already killed your dad, because their dad died when they were young. I'm you put one fucker in the ground, you're going to do it to my dad. And I'm calling the cop. I'm get these people out of here. There's no blood relation. There's no marriage certificate. Get them out. I'm throwing a fit. My mom's you need to calm down. I need to calm down. Get these idiot. I was like, look at them, look at us. What do we look like?
Yeah.
They got blonde hair and green eyes, and my brother and I, we look like our dad.
Yeah.
And they finally made them leave. And I was nice. I said, I'm sorry I reacted that way, but y'all ain't got no reason to see him. It's my father. And they left. And the coroner pulled my mom to the side and said, I need to talk to you. Now, mind you, my Uncle Alan had already been there, identified his body, and left. Nobody called us. Not once. So we get in the car, and I'm screaming, I'm crying, and I'm driving, and I'm like, grabbing the steering wheel, because I wanted to drive. Mom begged to drive, and I was like, and listen, if anybody knew my mother, she was not a pushover, but she knew, like, when I got to a certain point, there was no stopping me, and it was one of those kind of points, okay? So anyways, I'm fit to be tied, as we say in the South. I'm out of my brain. And now I'm going to have to bury my father, and I can't think around, So I go home, and I tell my husband at the time, which is now my ex-husband, that's all I have to say about him. Anyways, tell him, and I hold my baby, Stokes, and I am all to pieces, and it's a mess. And I know that the next day I'm going to... Oh, no, I'm sorry. We go to Roe Mountain that night, and there's cops going through his house.
What?
Without our permission, because our Uncle Alan let us in and let them in. And his name's nowhere on the deed. It's nothing. It's mine and Chaz's. We knew it. We knew all this stuff. It was crazy. And we're furious. I'm like, why would you let them in? So they're going through all my dad's things. And my dad was murdered. He didn't kill anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in between Elizabeth and in Roe Mountain, my mom tells me what the coroner says. My dad didn't just die from the gun wound. He died from blunt force trauma. He'd been beaten all over the back of him, like he was running to get away. My dad was a sharpshooter and a recon and a sniper in the Marines. I can't express how much time. To this day, if my kids look down a barrel of a Nerf gun, I go, don't look down the barrel! Like, It was pumped in my head. You know what I mean? So, for him to shoot himself or the gun to misfire doesn't make any sense.
No.
Okay. Immediately, my brother and I call our Aunt Denise, who's in the FBI. She was an arms instructor for the FBI. My brother's an arms instructor for the city police here. I mean, that's how gun-oriented our whole family is.
Mm-hmm.
So we call. She comes in. She's trying to figure out, and she won't talk to us. It's really weird. The sheriff at the time, I don't know if I should say his name, he's on the case, and he's, if you can imagine an East Tennessee sheriff, is a cartoon character. That's what it was. He's still around here. I think he does mall security now, if I remember correctly. Anyways, so it was a mess. It was a shamble. We were told this, that, and the other, and not once did any sheriff's officer, anybody talk to me, my brother, or my mom, who was his last ex-wife. I reach out, I call every person. We start going through credit card receipts, credit card bills. We do all this research, and we find out that my dad had a very secretive life. And no matter how many women he was dating, he had 7 on the side, okay? Like, I don't care. And if anybody out there that I know that dated my dad, I'm friends with a lot of his ex-girlfriends on Facebook. If you're listening to this, please don't be upset. Let me just tell you, we had to just start throwing all the letters and cards away that he would get from women. It was crazy. Like, I don't know if it was, like, honestly, I think he had an addiction issue. Like, it was too many to count. Anyways, so my dad was really mysterious, and my mom always said he was cloak and dagger. He really was. And at his funeral, there were so many people that came to us that were military and, like, part of American Postal Workers Union, and my dad was high up in that. I mean, I could go on, and the positions he had, doesn't make a lot of sense. But let me explain to you why I think Murder by the Slice is the best way to present this story. The inheritance my brother and I were supposed to get was left to my Uncle Alan, and this in particular inheritance was a MetLife inheritance, like life insurance policy. And there was a Supreme Court trial that basically said whoever it was left to doesn't matter. In my mom and dad's divorce papers, they even went back and double, triple signed it if my dad were to get married and have other children. No matter if he had 15 children, that MetLife insurance policy would be left to my brother and I, no matter what. Like, they even went back and initialed it with the judges and the lawyers. It was crazy.
Wow.
Okay, we had all this evidence, yada, yada, yada. Long story short, because of the other Supreme Court hearings, my Uncle Alan got to keep it, which would have changed my brother-in-law's life. It was like $500,000 each, okay? And maybe one day we'll get it. I think we will. But there were some other things that changed in that town. And one of them was, all of a sudden, there was different pieces of property that my Uncle Frank just kind of acquired. It was really weird. And he completely refused to speak to us or come to my father's funeral. Yeah. He also refused to serve me at his restaurant. Like, if we want a pizza from there, I couldn't call and order it.
You had to send somebody else.
I had to. I think you even went and picked up pizza there one time because I was like, I can't order it.
I think so. Yeah.
So they like wouldn't
They
serve
would-
you.
yeah,
If
would
they knew it
acknowledge-
was you, they'd be
yeah,
like,
they would,
no.
no.
Wow.
I even apologized to his wife and said, hey, I'm so sorry we didn't put Frank, Tony, and Denise in the obituary. But my Uncle Alan really was heading that up. We had never had a parent die, and we were kind of didn't know what to do. And, you know, Dad and Alan were close, and he didn't, you know, it was a weird situation. And please tell Frank I'm sorry. And because I thought, and then one day, because Mom and I worked in the paranormal, we decided to use a ghost box. Now this is why we can say this is murder by the size, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we took the ghost box and we set it on my dad's tombstone and said, Brady, who killed you? And as clear as day, it said Frank.
Cold
And it
chills.
sounded like my dad's voice, okay? We thought there's no way. So we actually did a gathering. I don't know if you were there for that. And we did the whole thing again in front of a bunch of people. And it said, at the time, Charlie
Yep.
and Porterfield, I cannot remember his first name. Richard Porterfield, both Marines, stood on both sides of Dad's
Yep.
headstone.
Yep. I was there for that.
And we put the ghost box there and it said Frank.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, anybody that's ever done paranormal stuff, you know the ghost bugs are pre-fed with words, yada, yada, yada. But that's pretty intense.
Especially to get it twice.
Mm-hmm. Mom and I would use baby monitors in the house. And it was like picking up a conversation between my dad and my grandmother because my dad and my grandmother lived in that house together for many, many years.
Really?
And we would get all kinds of stuff. So, and even like running into Frank today at the grocery store and the just snarling of his hatred. The only motive he would have was to make Dad gone. Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, my Uncle Alan had a motive, but he didn't know he was going to get that money. He didn't know that his name was on it until after we did all the paperwork and everything. He didn't know.
Right.
And he swore to us that the only reason he kept it is because he knew our mom would spend it. But I think he bought a house in Killdouble Hills with it.
Sounds like somebody spent it.
Yeah.
What about? Can I?
Yeah.
What about the other bodies? Did you research those? Or?
Yeah. So there's actually like a Reddit thread on
Really?
Brady Hughes.
Can we pull that up, Danielle?
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely.
No.
And-
Well, yeah. Go ahead. Actually.
I think I
Here.
actually have it. You know how you can like on Safari when you open a new page. I think I have it
Yes.
saved, so I will.
God, you go to Reddit for Reddit has all the things.
I
Yeah.
love Reddit.
Yeah.
Me too.
I think I had. Let me see if I can find it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please do.
But yeah, it's really bizarre. I mean, a lot of people said it had to do with the sheriff at the time. Actually, it's called fandom.
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 Oh.
Yeah. It actually says who beat him to death on this one. It says Robert Coors. I don't know who that is. It says from Detroit, Michigan. My dad did live in Detroit when he was little for a little while. But this says this is from a TV show, Justified. So I don't know. It might be from Justified. I have no idea. But I will send this to you, Danielle.
Thank you.
But I know that there is a Reddit thread out there, too, because there was, the park ranger, my dad, 2 people found rolled up in a rug.
The one guy shot his brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of death all at one time. And I'm serious, like, Rhode Mountain is teeny tiny.
Yeah, you can drive through it and not even realize it.
Yeah, you don't realize it's a town.
So what did they end up ruling the case as?
So here's really funny. So the very first time I met the sheriff that asked me any questions was at my dad's funeral, and he said, well, hi, like, I don't know how to say it. Or he talked weird. And he's like, I'm Sheriff so-and-so, and I was over your dad's case. And I was like, no, you did a real good job because I'm his oldest child, and you've never questioned me. And Mom was like, can't talk like that to a cop. I said, I just did, and I'll do it again because...
Yeah.
So at one point, my mom and my brother went and talked to him. I was pregnant, and because of the death, lightning, because of the death and all the craziness with it, I started having horrible complications, and they brought Jasper 2 months early. Jasper was a preemie, but he was 8 pounds, so they didn't say he was a preemie. So anyways, was that thunder?
Yes, ma'am.
So my dad had 2 Siamese cats, which is crazy. One was named Lightning. The first one was named Lightning because it was Grace Lightning. And the Siamese cat he got next was Thunder because after Lightning, there's always Thunder.
Yep.
Stop
And my
it.
brother was up mowing our property this past weekend and texted me, there's Siamese cats living in the shrubs in Rhode Mountain.
No way.
You can't make this stuff up.
I know,
That's
right? You get cold
crazy.
chills,
You
like,
stop.
Guys, live on air. Thunder
Yes.
and lightning.
Yes.
Literally.
The cats. So anyways, my dad was obsessed with Siamese cats. Remember we were at that lady's house and I said my parents had the same screens but with Siamese cats.
Yes.
Okay, anyways. So, then my mom and my brother went to the jail to talk to the sheriff at the time to find out all the information. And my mom's like, the coroner's report says he was beaten, he was hit. Like, it looked like, and I've got the coroner's report, it looked like he was beaten with like a 2x4. And my brother, being a cop in this area, looked in, like, and county said, you don't want to see those pictures. Because they have to take pictures of it. They said, don't look at it. Because he was mutilated. My mom was a hairdresser, and she did hair and makeup for dead people all the time. So we let her go do Dad's hair and makeup for his, she wanted to. That's a whole nother story. But she told us he had been beat to death. Like, he was shot, and he bled out, but he had been beaten. Okay? So even if he would have misfired a gun, he had been beaten.
Right.
So anyways.
There was somebody else involved.
There were some other people involved.
Obviously.
They ruled it as an accident because they said it misfired. Supposedly the Carter County Sheriff's Department, which I encourage anybody not from East Tennessee to look up Carter County Sheriff's Department. Recently, I think today when I was at the gym, something popped up on my phone saying that Carter County Sheriff's Department in the jail has just been convicted of sexual charges for doing stuff with the inmates. I don't know. Like, there's always stuff going on at the Carter County Jail.
I feel like
It's
there's
a
been
happening
songs
joint.
about Carter County Jail.
Yeah, Copperhead Road's about Carter County. Well, Johnson County, which touches Carter County. Anyways, so they go and talk to the sheriff, and the sheriff said, "You got 2 kids that live here, ma'am, don't you?" She said, "Yes." He said, "If I was you, I'd shut my damn mouth and quit asking so many questions if you want to keep them alive." Now, what I will tell you is within 3 years of that whole situation, I was brutally gang raped, and my brother was jumped at a party and almost put in the hospital. Do I think it's murder by the slice? I think he might be serving that. I mean, it ain't the best pizza.
Wow.
So it's an unsolved cold case. I would love for somebody to pick it up.
Yes.
Because now Carter County Sheriff's Department supposedly bought the exact kind of gun my dad had, which is a Dillinger, which is a small gun, and said, "Well, we tested it, and we got we almost shot ourselves."
Almost shot ourselves.
Oh, my
But
God.
like we know that didn't happen. the car was demolished because of the quickcrete, which
Yeah.
is, you know what
Concrete.
quickcrete is.
Yeah.
Concrete you just mix with water that
Yep.
it's quick.
Yeah.
Yep. Because they had to saw a roof off of the car
To get him out of the car, but he was already out of the car.
Yeah. A lot of things not.
Let me
happening.
tell you.
Yeah.
So there's all these little communities in that area, and one of them is called Burbank, which is, where that Carolyn and Charlie live.
Mm-hmm.
The graveyard's behind there. Okay. Right down from there is a store called Jack's Store. It's been a million different names, but to this day, if you're from Rome Mountain, everybody calls it Jack's Store. It had been raining and snowing, and currently was raining and snowing, but supposedly there were two old men sitting outside the front of the store that saw my dad go up the mountain and come back down. But it was raining and snowing so much that a quickcrete bag that was ripped apart or busted dusted everything in the car and covered it with concrete. But there was two old men sitting outside in the rain and snow watching my dad driving up and down the road.
This has foul play written all over
And
it.
the two old men sitting out there, they didn't have names. The cops forgot to ask them.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Listen, I know an investigative journalist that I'm going to put on this because I feel like...
you do.
Yeah, I feel like this needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we don't live in Rome Mountain anymore. We're selling the property. We're ready to move on. But living, and that's one of the reasons I had a hard time living up there, because I constantly was looking over my shoulder and constantly, because there was a long time my boys and I were the only ones living in that house.
That's scary.
That's terrifying.
If they were with their dad and I wasn't with anybody, I would be alone. Morgan, you've been at my house when it's just me, and it was creepy.
It feels very vulnerable, that house.
Because you feel like you're in the middle of, because it's the only flat land in the whole area.
It's very much like you're in a bowl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they can like, as my dad would snipe you, get you from behind.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
but I think it was par for the course because my dad had such a mysterious life. So there is your true crime murder by the slice podcast from us. Anything I left, I know y'all have heard the story a million times. I've said it a million times. Anything that you all want to ask or add, go for it.
Gosh, I don't know. Like, has anyone ever come up to you after that and said, like, hey, by the way, I know your dad was like this, or hey, this might be why? Like,
So
what
my dad was the firstborn grandchild on that side of the family, and from his mom's side. So his mom had two siblings born after my dad was born. My aunt Ruth Ann, great aunt Ruth Ann, and great uncle Tim. My dad and Tim were the ladies' men. Like they ran beside each other, duping girls. You know what I mean?
Wingmen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Competition though, but like
Oh.
my oldest son looks like my dad. My youngest son looks like my Uncle Tim. Uncle Tim got into some trouble, got into some drugs where he would break in and steal from people. So there would be old people come up to me and say, "You know who killed your dad was your Uncle Tim." But I'm going to tell you something. Uncle Tim would have taken a bullet for my dad, regardless of whether he was on drugs, whether he was high, whether he was cracked out. I don't care. He would have taken. He's dead now. They loved each other very much so. So it's hard for me to say that. I did have somebody come up to me one time, and I don't know if I should say this, but they said your dad did do some governmental work, private governmental work, and gave me a number to call, which I was terrified to call. I gave it to my brother, and he was like, "Oh, that's bull. That's horse crap," My mom and my brother they're very much alike in the fact that it's all, your dad, Brady was just cloak and dagger. And I'm like, I think there was something to it, guys.
I don't understand why he didn't have a shirt.
Why didn't he have shoes on or socks?
Why didn't he have shoes and a shirt?
It's like he was diddling somebody. Somebody's husband came home, pulled on his breeches, grabbed his shirt, and then he came home and
Grabbed
was
his
like, my
jacket,
shoes
because
first.
his jacket's more
Grab my
expensive
shoes.
than a shirt.
Because it's cold.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But why did he have, you all know what I'm talking about when I say the chemical gloves that come up, they're the big,
Yeah,
black,
why?
thick, why did he have those on?
Yeah, that's...
Don't make any sense. There's so many things. And I'm really just touching the surface, Maybe I should bring you guys the coroner's report so you can see it. But I'm telling you, it is one of the most insane. He was beaten. Literally, it said 2x4. Like,
on the report.
Yeah, on the report because the
You
way
could
the
see
bruising.
the
Yeah.
outline.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we don't know where he was specifically going to. I do know his ex-girlfriend, Jane Thomas, at the time was yelling that he was getting his pain pills from the VA that day and that somebody needed to go to the Bro Mountain to get them for him. I said, I don't think he'll be needing them.
Yeah.
Oh, but, you know, she had a little bit of a drug problem. So. It was interesting, you know, and very hard. And I think one of the reasons my brother and I have such a hard time talking about our father's death, and we usually I'm crying by the time I get to this part, is because we don't know what the hell happened. We didn't, you know.
He was there 1 minute and gone,
the
next.
next. And then, like, my Uncle Alan stepped in and ran the funeral and picked the sermon and picked out the casket, and we were just there. And we did take him to court several times, and when the judge said, what makes you think that you should be able to keep this, and he said, because I lost my brother and they didn't ask me one time how I was doing. And the judge said, it was their father. Wow. You should have been taking care of them. So there's a lot of, you know, the crazy thing is Chaz and I are the only grandchildren on that side, and Chaz is the only Hughes to carry on the Hughes name.
Wow.
Alan didn't have any kids, you know. So when Stokes died, I didn't go to the funeral because my crazy ex-husband. That's another story. So we did have an inheritance there that we didn't get. We've been kept out of all the inheritances on the Hughes and Troutman side, so it's sad, but it is what it is.
I feel like there's really hasn't been any closure for you
No.
or your brother though at all.
No.
You know?
And I think that's why we can't wait to sell the house in Rye Mountain. We're ready to. So much pain there.
Mm-hmm.
So. But I am putting this out there as an all call. If anybody has any information on the death of my father, Brady Lee Hughes, you can find me on Facebook at Tess A. Lee McKittrick. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Some Say I'm Gifted, and please, please, please reach out to us. We would love to hear what you think. Or if you have another one you would like for us to talk about, because we didn't really do the investigation side. We just told you what we went through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, let us know. If you know something you want to, and we don't have to use your name. I would be more than happy to hear what y'all have to say. So reach out to us. Let us know what you think about this episode, and let us know if you want more of these. And can't wait to hear from you guys. Love you all.
Yep. See you next Thursday.
Love you guys.
Bye.